sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
I just choked down chocolate chip cookies and Grandpa's femur. Femur.
We make money now?
No, we had to pay
So
them.
this episode, it's just too slippery. I'm slicing everything.
Every time I swing my 5-iron, it goes up that guy's ass.
Welcome to the Sad Dads Club podcast. Here's your host, Jim and Foo.
Thanks for the invite back, man. I had a blast. That was
Good.
super fun. Thank
Yes.
you.
Good. Yeah.
The cake was good.
Yeah. The cake was delicious. Everyone at my house liked it.
Well, good.
Sadly, everyone but my son. My son wouldn't eat it because he's a turd. But my wife and daughter both loved it. But sadly, they're both on Weight Watchers. So guess who was the asshole that had to eat most of it?
That's not compatible with that.
Yeah.
That's not compatible at
No,
all. man.
not at all. But my wife's like, oh my God, this is... And she would take a bite and put the fork in the sink. And then a little while later, she would come back and have I can't do this anymore. It's so good, though.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, it was funny. Was he even telling me the fork in the box?
Oh, yeah, that's ours. That's our modus operandi. Yeah.
I was sharing in your shame on that.
Yeah?
Like you go in a day later and it's all crusty, so you just throw... Oh, yeah.
Goddamn new fork.
Yeah.
Someone hasn't been eating enough.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not me.
Is that our start?
That's yeah.
All right.
So there's another round of a very similar deal there for you guys.
Okay.
Right? But there's one for each this time, so there's no contention.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I almost had to stab him in the hand.
But this time it's blueberry almond with caramel. So
Oh,
there's a
Jesus.
Shit.
twist on it. So if you got a nut allergy,
No.
Well,
No.
some kind of nut, but not
depending
that.
on the nut, yeah, sure. Almond joy.
Well, I would just like to say welcome to the Sad Dads Club podcast. If you haven't guessed already, we have
Dave.
Dave Sampson back in. So we're happy to have you back, Dave.
Dude, it was so much fun, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah.
I
Well,
really
we
enjoyed
figured
it.
there was tons of stuff that we could have talked about that we didn't talk about.
And it was just too cool in Penn Valley. So we're like, hey, let's roast his ass
Yeah.
down here again.
We know it's probably at least 5-8 degrees cooler up there.
Maybe.
No?
No, not
It's
really.
yeah, and
Not really, yeah.
that was a joke, but it's speaking to my dad, who's off of McCourtney. Oftentimes there's a weird, wonky inversion thing that happens.
Yeah.
And he's got like a creek that runs through his space,
Yeah.
and so it often pulls cool air down to the creek and just bakes him.
Oh.
It's very weird.
It's funny you mentioned. I've got a creek that kind of goes around my place in the shape of a U, right? And there's this weird inversion layer that occurs. It's really kind of bizarre.
it's bizarre. You would think at generally all times being slightly higher up the hill in elevation that it would be a little bit more moderate.
It cools
It's
down
Not,
at
it's
night.
not it's not a rule across the board. It's
I wonder because Grass Valley typically tends to be anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees cooler in general.
And it's about 3 degrees cooler on average so far in Grass Valley from my house. I said Grass Valley, the office is 2,500 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm 1,500 feet.
So that extra 1,000 feet does make a difference.
It makes a difference. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it makes a difference.
Plus, you're in that sort of like Penn Valley is sort of that area that, like, I feel like it's sort of a crevice in the mountain where heat just like kind of cooks up you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can stand in certain places and see the convection, like when you're at a trade show. Those guys with the the Drakkar that have been wearing that same suit for 3 days, and you can.
It's too
see
much,
the
bro.
Yeah,
you could peel off the Drakkar.
Yeah.
That's how I feel right now. Actually, are you getting a little bit of that vibe?
No, you're
Okay.
You're
It's
well
Musk.
You're well placed.
Oh, I'm feeling sweaty.
So that was interesting listening to my participation being talked about in the third person.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it was interesting. I had no idea. I was entertaining, but thanks. That was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's entertainment if you give it a chance.
It was a good story too.
With the right drugs.
That's right.
Because we had it was good to tell other friends. I'm like, oh, you got it's it's like gold star. Like we had the CEO of a company come down. I was talking to a friend who also lives in Penn Valley, and this ties into cars loosely. I'm like, yeah, we had Dave Jim's brought fucking Dave down, and just it was awesome. We were all just shooting the shit, and it was the weirdest thing too, because he had pulled up in this Ford F-150. Wait, if you ever see this running around Penn Valley, fucking that's Dave. And he goes, it was a white Ford, and I went, yeah, it's a F. Wait, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was one of the Honda fucking Ridgeline, and we both of us immediately bagged on Ridgeline. Fucking Honda Ridgeline, not a real truck, because he's got a Raptor, and so we're like
totally
hosing
cool.
down the deck in like jacked up big tires machismo, and he goes, but actually the Ridgelines, and I go, yeah, I'd probably get one too though. They're not bad. I would get one of those.
Honestly, Dave gave me shit about my car right after the show. Like, my wife would like that car or some shit like that. I'm like, you're driving a Ridgeline, bro.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, we both immediately went into like, it's not a real truck, and then we went, but I would get one in a heartbeat. It was like the Honda Odyssey, the minivan.
Yeah.
It was like, you get into like the parents, and now you've owned a minivan. The Honda Odyssey we owned was fucking like pinnacle luxury awesome.
They're awesome.
It had so many like amenities that made my life as a young parent easier, and it rode awesome. The run flat tires are a whole other story, but
Yeah, that's a little different.
I had no complaints about that thing. We used that thing till the wheels came off, kind of literally, kind of thing. It's easy to poke fun at the Honda making a truck, but in reality, probably the build quality is probably far better than some of the domestic made ones. But it's still fun to like.
So I've got a full size or half-ton pickup,
Yeah.
four-wheel drive pickup. With not jacked in the air, but good off-road capability with a tow kit, and it'll tow 10,000 pounds. I don't like driving it
Yeah.
unless I'm towing something.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's a Titan,
No.
Oh, okay.
Nissan Titan.
Yeah.
Is it the diesel?
No, I bought it
Good.
the very first year.
Don't get the diesel.
The first year they bought them at it's an 04, and in 04,
Yeah.
it was clearly the nicest half-ton truck.
Yeah.
It was the first half-ton truck with a 5-speed. It was the first half-ton truck with an all-aluminum dual overhead cam 32-valve V8. There was a lot of firsts with the Nissan Titan, and in all honesty, there aren't many naturally aspirated half-ton trucks to this day that are better. If you go on like the fast lane truck and compare it with the Chevy 5.3, it'll still squat over a Chevy 5.3, a new one. Not the 6-liter or the 6.2,
Yeah.
but the regular ones, and it won't outrun an EcoBoost. But the newer ones aren't cooler enough for me to bother to get them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna let that. But I don't like driving
It's
it.
funny you talk about the first iteration, because Mike Zombie, who we've talked about, #HiMike, he bought their Cummins variant.
Right, the 5-liter. It's like a 5/8 ton.
Yeah, on paper, that thing was awesome, and right out of the box, it did everything he wanted, and it had tons of like, it hit all the marks. It was like awesome. But he fought that thing tooth and nail with suspension and some of the things. Their adoption of some knickknacks into there.
Well, did he try
it
to
was
mod
never
it?
right.
No.
Just stock as a rocket?
Stock as it was.
He would
That's
have
a
like
bummer.
the entire front end replaced on it because it was squeaking like crazy or whatever.
It was a shame because that thing was tits. It was
ended up-
awesome.
That would have been the one. We were all waiting to see.
Yeah.
We were, because a 3/4 ton diesel is a $75,000 to $90,000 truck. So this was supposed to be the tweener. That was a little bigger than a half ton, but not quite a 3/4 ton. And I mean, Cummins, who doesn't love them?
Well, he ended up getting them to buy it back with a lemon law.
Oh man!
And then he got the
V8.
the V8, the normal. He still bought a Titan.
Yeah.
I dig it, man.
We were kind of like, I don't know if I would buy another Titan after that. And
after that, I could understand if he wouldn't.
Yeah, but as long as it wasn't the Cummins.
He liked the truck itself.
But the Nissan 5.6 is a bitchin' engine. It really is. I mean, they did a nice job with that. I tow it's an 8,000 pound boat all the time.
Yeah,
it's great. But to drive down here, are you kidding me? The Ridgeline.
Yeah, why would you?
The Ridgeline is awesome. I got 32 miles per gallon coming here.
Well, I give you crap about it, but that's actually, I have told you this before. If I was going to buy a pickup, I would buy a Ridgeline.
If you can fit it within your towing and cargo lifestyle, it's awesome. It might be the best all-rounder I've ever owned.
That's saying
it
something.
might be.
Yeah.
That's saying something.
No, I think what I said about your car was there's a version of that for men.
Yeah.
It was something.
The one
like
that has the real engine in it.
Yeah, but man, that thing's what I like.
It's pretty
about
cool.
That car,
No, it's a pretty cool car, dude.
It does haul ass. Number one.
Well,
but the other thing that it does is it is fuel sipping on the highway.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about the Disney trip. I mean, you went
we
to
just drove down there like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
You did that on purpose, right?
Yeah.
You went to Disney on purpose?
Yeah.
And what? So I've done that stretch on the 5 many times.
Yeah.
Like, so how big's the tank and what do you get?
Okay, so the way I gauge this is when we start here, I fill up.
Right.
And we stop in Kettleman City.
Yep. In and out.
Fill up. And I usually have by the time I get there from here, I'll have over a half a tank left. Yeah. Every other car that I've ever driven down there with a similar size tank, which is roughly in the 12 to 13 gallon range, will have a quarter of a tank or less.
So how big's the tank?
Like 12.9 or something like that.
12 gallons?
Yeah.
You go to Kettleman City from here? That's
yeah.
pretty good. How fast you go?
I don't go super fast. I'm like
5 over.
75 to...
A 5 over guy.
Yeah, 75,
okay.
76,
That's
77.
pretty good.
Yeah. And
that's pretty good.
When I can get to Kettleman City and fill up my tank for the rest of the trip down, and it's only $27,
that's pretty good.
That's a win in my book.
That's pretty good. But I was listening to you.
Yeah.
The Sonos thing was interesting to hear, by the way.
Oh.
But I was listening to you. You were bitching about the screen.
Oh, the Q screen.
Yeah.
I replaced it this week.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, how'd that go?
So I found a replacement company called Q Screens.
Okay.
And they basically replaced the OEM with the same bezel, so it looks exactly the same. But instead of the gel-based touchscreen that GM uses, they use an actual capacitive touchscreen overlay. So you're not replacing the LCD; you're just replacing the touch part.
Got it.
And so I had to pull the whole stereo out, take the stereo apart, and then replace the screen with the one they send. And like little tiny cables and plug in and all that stuff.
Tweezer work.
It took me maybe an hour and 20 minutes.
I was going to say, how long was it?
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Dude, you pull a dashboard apart, and that's not bad.
Yeah, it took me about... the hardest part was, like I said, making sure I followed the directions on taking the stereo. Only the parts that need to come off of the stereo.
Right.
But, man, it is... so responsive now. It does not miss a touch. It swipes. It does everything I want it to do now.
Drop-in replacement, no
nothing.
Massaging
no
of plastic.
No
broken connectors.
The bezel looks just like the Cadillac bezel. I mean, it's awesome.
What's a pretty new car? How old? I mean,
it's a 16.
Okay, it's 4 years old. That's not bad.
Yeah, so
but I wouldn't expect you to be having problems in 4 years.
This is a huge issue that GM's
it's a
had.
well-known deal.
Yeah, like all their cars use this gel, so it's 2 layers that sandwich this gel in between, and that's their touch. That's how it uses, and the gel dries up over time.
Oh yeah,
and then sometimes it looks like the screen's cracked, even though it's just the gel inside drying out.
That's weird.
Right, it leaves like a streak. I've seen that.
No, it actually looks like spider webby.
It
looks like it's actually smashed. The other thing, the symptom that I had is it was just half the time it wouldn't be responsive. You'd touch it, nothing would happen, or you'd press something and you get half a press, and then you have to press it again, or sometimes it wouldn't do anything. You'd be like pounding on it with your fingers, and now all that's gone. It's
beautiful.
That's
beautiful.
Weird. I wonder what the longevity of that is supposed to be over just having a capacitive touchscreen.
I think what I read was that they use the gel because it has a softer feel for your finger. When you touched it, it didn't have like a hard, press.
Right. The Honda's a capacitive, and it's hard. There's no give to it.
Yeah, there's no give at all, right? Which the new one is.
I'll get over it.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I'll get over that.
But Cadillac is trying. They're going for the touch.
Sure.
Right.
Some sort of tactile response.
It's a feel on the screen that you got when you touched it.
Oh, this is luxury.
And one of the things I saw that happened shortly after I got the car is I cleaned the screen real good. And what it did is it separated the gel out and made like this weird mark in the middle.
No.
And I went, did I fuck my screen up?
Oh, no.
And eventually the gel sort of like came back and like that separated the little weird mark kind of like just disappeared over time. But that was like the beginning of the
59 more payments.
No,
I got to get in here with a spatula every time we clean the car.
I don't have any payments on that car.
Good, but
yeah, but no. So it was one of those things, and it was like, well, when the screen just doesn't fucking work when you're driving, that is fucked up, right? It needs to work.
There's a lot of things that revolve around it, right? The climate control, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that is
Ways
all tied into
and
there.
all that, yeah.
And so it was like, well, I can get the screen replacement for $150. Like, why not?
Yeah,
and I have the know-how to like take my stereo apart and put it back together.
You're an engineer.
Yeah. So why not?
And
it's night and day. It is night and day.
So overall, stepping back from it, would buy again or would not buy again?
That car?
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love the car.
So you're happy with it? Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's good.
I love the way it drives. I love the look. It has this mean look. I got to clean the wheels up again. But
no, it's a slick machine, dude.
I like it.
Slick.
So this is the interesting follow-up, though.
Yeah.
Prior to your son finding it, because you were looking, were you a Cadillac guy?
No, not necessarily.
Huh.
I mean, I had seen them around, but never really paid much attention. And I remember when my son sent me the link to it, check out this car. And it was like one of the first cars he sent me, or if not the first. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that car is fucking badass looking. And I'm like, what? It's a 4-cylinder Cadillac? Are you kidding me? And so then I started looking at
visions of the Cimarron come floating through your head.
Yeah, I mean, you're just thinking a big old Cadillac kind of thing that like has a 4-cylinder. And my son's like, yeah, but it's a turbo. And so I went, oh, geez, okay, I know what a 2-liter turbo can do.
Oh yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Forced induction, baby.
So we went to CarMax and we looked at I had my eyes set on this Audi A4, I want to say, that was gorgeous.
Was it in its native environment of a flatbed?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. It was more expensive. It was more expensive than the Cadillac.
Behold.
The warranty was the warranty to buy was more expensive than the Cadillac. And I was like, oh, let's go. You know, we got done at CarMax. Hey, you know, that Cadillac was pretty bitchin'. Let's go check it out. And I drove it. And I mean, the difference between the Audi and the Cadillac driving wise, it just had this feel to it that I just couldn't deny. And that's what sold me, was driving it. And so I'm not a Cadillac guy. I don't like drool over Cadillacs, but that car, man, sometimes it just grabbed
about
me.
the machine.
Oh, it's a slick machine, dude.
It grabbed me.
So how many gears in the box?
It's a 9-speed.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. It's very smooth.
Is it laggy between gears? Is there any kind of weird?
You don't even know it's shifting.
And it's well tuned.
Yeah,
very cool. And
it has a sport mode where you can make it
tight.
It'll rev out to like just about red line.
So it's a 4-cylinder, 2-liter. Mm-hmm. How many ponies?
273, something like that.
Okay, just under the ridge line.
Yeah.
Has it got any tricks? Like, has it got a variable vane turbo, or has it got a sequential turbo, or
no?
Does it have any of that cylinder Now, you probably wouldn't have cylinder deactivation in a 2-liter.
Yeah, I don't think they do that on that one.
Is it a timing chain car or a timing belt car?
I haven't investigated that yet.
Okay.
I haven't looked into that yet.
I'm guessing it's a chain because most GM cars are timing chains.
Well, that's good because I like chains over belts.
Well, mostly.
That's what Shan says.
Zing.
Gotcha.
Hashtag hi, Shan.
Hashtag hi, Shan.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. But I mean, it drives nice. It's got the way the suspension's set up on it is. When it's
very Euro,
you know, he understands this, but I mean, yeah, it feels very Euro. The car feels flat in corners, and it just has this. It just goes. It's.
I love seeing American cars back in the top 10 and
I will just
desirable again. And
I am a Honda guy. I love fucking. If I could have afforded it at the time, I would have bought a Type R Civic. Those are the kind of cars I really dig.
It's going to get a little loud on that trip to Anaheim, Jim.
I know. Oh, trust me.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be nearly as comfortable. I mean,
not remotely.
No.
Yeah. But they're fun on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is I'm commuting. Well, at the time I was commuting up to an hour up to Grass Valley every day.
Yeah. And rowing the box up that hill all day long. Yeah, it's not.
And, you know, I don't mind. You know, I would prefer to have a manual car. I've had manual cars. I like them. I like driving them. I'm very good at driving them. But at the same time, when you do as much driving as I do, it's like, I can deal with a manual or an automatic.
As a weekend car, perfect. as an everyday car, not anymore for me.
On Jason, with the with his RS, I mean, he doesn't go very very.
Even that, I don't know if I could
an hour every day rowing.
I would do it.
Would you?
To me, I just need
auto's
that.
Just not the
auto. I couldn't do it.
No.
If it was
totally
was the family
totally
car,
like
the Odyssey and the Durango and the Dodge,
or the Explorer,
yeah, I don't care. It impacts me none.
Yeah.
But
for your personal
for my
space.
car, even if it's outside the weekends, even if I was commuting, the Eclipse, the Fiero,
you had an Eclipse?
Yeah.
Mitsubishi Eclipse?
Yeah, GST.
That was my first brand new car. 1990.
Mine, same.
Yeah. I love that car.
Yeah.
I was commuting. It's just for me. That's just part of the enthusiasm of driving.
Right.
I'll shift until I'm numb.
Well, you're much more connected to the vehicle with the manual.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you are.
Well, I mean, I commuted to Sacramento in a 5-speed, so
it's I don't know. I'm sure there will come. I'm sure it'll come a time when there's like a grand touring sedan. When I get slightly older.
Maybe when it's electric and there's no gearbox at all.
Yeah, I won't have any cares.
You driven a high-end electric vehicle yet?
No.
I haven't driven one. I've ridden in them, but not driven one.
Oh, dude. You're going to want one.
I know.
The minute you lay into it, you're like, I got to get me some of that.
You rode in Will's has the Model 3, right?
I didn't ride in Will's. I rode
Simpson's
in,
got a 3?
Huh?
Will Simpson's got a 3?
No. He's talking about our friend Will.
Oh.
I didn't ride in Will's, but I've ridden.
Who went? Was that Shan and
it was
Datas?
Shan and Chandler and
Melly.
I think Melly.
Okay.
But I rode in
Bilbo's Model S. Yeah.
Yes. In Vegas.
Yeah.
They picked me up at the airport one year, and he got onto one of the side streets going back to the hotel and took it to a stop. There were 5 of us in that thing.
Yeah.
And he stomped on it. It was like nobody was in it.
That's crazy.
It just goes.
And I saw that.
I
saw that car on a wheel dyno, and it makes about 900 pound-feet.
Really?
Of torque. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. And they're still
right
like
now
eking out, 10, 15 more extra miles, per charge. Like they're still getting nickels and dimes out of even the ones that are, last gen battery types.
Feels like whatever algorithms they've got going on are just improving over time.
Yeah.
And they're just getting more efficient.
Well, so the fact that the car is centrally controlled, right? Like if you look at any of our cars, there's multiple computers, there's miles and miles of wiring, there's a control system for the locks and a control system for the suspension. So there's one computer in that car.
Yeah.
Right? It's got a third of the mile, and that one computer controls the whole car. So you can change the whole car with an update over the air.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's there in terms of
that's
being able
impressive.
to do that, right? And how fast that computer is, how short, because when you do stuff like you need a couple hundred frames per second for autopilot, the latency becomes a big deal now, right? So that's the amount of kilowatt hours per mile, or the amount of forward momentum per energy used. Tesla's way ahead of everybody on that. The battery technology, how they cool it, how fast you can charge it. If you go look at how that level 3 supercharger, if you go look at the charging profile, you can slam something like 150 miles in 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's impressive too.
So they've really done a great job with that.
Well, you go to Kettleman City and they got the Tesla supercharger there now.
Yeah.
And we pulled in there one time, and Chandler has a handicap placard because he hurt his back. So we parked in the handicap spot and got into the building. You're supposed to have an access code to get into there. Cleanest bathrooms on I-5, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
right
probably.
Now.
Yeah.
Chandler bought a hat.
What's the code? Like 0, 0,
No,
0,
some guy
0,
was,
like luggage?
Some guy was coming out, and we just were like, whoop.
Oh, you nailed the door?
Oh,
nice.
Oh, yeah.
Whoop.
But
trailed in.
How many chargers they have there, and how quick they charge.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
I don't know that I could ever, because towing, they still haven't got that down, right? There's no way to equal truck towing.
Right.
They tow well, but there's no range.
Yeah.
But in terms of like my Lexus SUV, no, I'm not going to buy another one. I'm not going to buy another gas sedan or SUV.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Well, I tried to make it work when I was looking at the Cadillac. Like, maybe I can find a used Tesla. I mean, they were just a little out of my range, and even a new Model 3 was out of my range for what I wanted to spend at the time.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like, well, it's not going to be this car.
So the longer you wait, the better the proposition will be. The cheaper the battery will become, and the more range you get for your dollar spent, right?
Well, I'm kind of the opinion that we are maybe one real good leap in battery technology away from like the electric car thing blowing the doors off of everybody. Like really blowing the doors off everybody.
So
God, you hope it's close.
Theoretically, it's coming, right? There's some new chemistry games that they played in China. You know, Elon's going to have this battery day we're supposed to have a 1,000,000-mile battery and be able to charge it quicker. And they're expensive, right? They're a little bit toys. You can't have that, I think, as your only car. You just can't. Not today.
Yeah.
I mean, Bilbo does, but he doesn't tow anything, or he's okay driving 65 for 5 hours.
Right.
He is, right? And you can do that.
Oh, I mean, I'm telling you right now, so COVID-19 drive down to Orange County and back when I did that a couple weekends ago, I had Teslas passing me doing 80, 85. I had my cruise control set at 77, and cars were flying by me, including Teslas, at whatever speed they were going, blowing by me. Yeah, no fucks were given.
Yeah, and that's the thing with those, right? So sometimes you can go faster by going slower because you spend less time charging.
Right.
And there's a really interesting...
It's a balance.
Yeah, it's a balance, and you gotta ride it correctly. But, if you look at it from the standpoint of a commuter and you go, I start every day with a full tank, that's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
And something like 80% of the cars, the commuter, when Chevy was doing the research for the Volt, which was a really cool car that they marketed very poorly, very few people understood how it really worked.
Right.
They determined that 80% of the commutes had a 40-mile range one way. And if they could give that to you for free, you could cut your fuel bill something like half.
Makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, but, even the base Model 3, well, theoretically, right, if you drive it like Grandpa, gives you 250 miles. So a 40-mile per direction guy is going to be easily served by that. But your trip to Anaheim is going to take longer, period.
Yeah.
It's going to take
you're
longer.
charging, you don't get the charge in the same amount of time that you get a tank of gas. So you're taking a lunch break whether you like it or not.
I think getting to that, I think that will be, as nerds and car enthusiasts and tech enthusiasts, I see the same kind of, right, you're hoping that the battery tech is just around the corner that's going to do the thing.
Yeah.
But in all the stuff that we've seen in the last 3 months, I think the biggest damper isn't even tech. It's humans' ability to accept change, and your commute time in a internal combustion engine on your own time goes from A to B in X amount of time. If you get told you can do that drive cleaner, safer, better for the next generation, better for the planet, it's a better economy, it contributes to jobs and your purchases and whatnot, but it's going to take you an hour longer because you're going to have to stop and charge. The amount of privilege and stupidity in humans to go, that's too much. I can't accept that. I'm just going to use my gas, and I'm fine with it.
Oh, the arguments about this are unbelievable.
Yeah.
People pretend
I think
like
that's the next real hurdle. It may not certainly price points and buy-ins for middle class and lower income households is a huge problem. But if anything is something that I have picked up about humanity and Americans specifically,
I'm not wearing a mask. Damn it!
This is too hard for me. I like what I have, and I just don't want to try anymore.
Well,
and I'm like,
you're right.
Fuck.
You're right. And I've watched guys convince themselves that every time they stop for gas, it's like a NASCAR pit stop.
Yeah,
and it's not. It doesn't have to be.
No,
you're gonna stop to eat.
There's
no
stop
metal to go to the bathroom.
That's what I was.
You might as well combine them.
Well, we end up stopping. Like, okay, so just the example is Kettleman City.
Sure,
because we stop there all the time whenever we drive down.
Bravo or In-N-Out?
We hit Bravo Farms and use the bathrooms.
Right.
We hit Starbucks. I hit the gas station. So there are multiple stops that I make just in Kettleman City before I get back on the highway. And usually In and Out. So it's In and Out, Starbucks, gas, Bravo Farms. I mean, not in that order, but we stop at 4 places in this tiny shithole stop.
That sounds like an hour right there.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's an hour right there.
So you can take your Tesla to the thing where they have a beautiful place that you can hang out.
It's like a first class lounge at an airport. Really,
and the bathrooms are awesome, and you're within walking distance of a bunch of places.
Yep.
And I mean, you're going to spend that time anyway.
Yeah, you just have to plan it like that.
Right.
Exactly.
And I think that maybe that's the next hindrance. It's the bridge too far in acceptance of change or amount of effort required on your part to do a little bit more.
Now, I mean, they have made strides. Like I was saying, the battery one good technology leap in batteries, right? They have made very good strides in the speed of the charging with the Superstation, where you're getting a huge dump in the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yes.
To top it off, you still have to wait a little bit longer, but that's not terrible. You're not stopping when it's empty.
Right. What they do is they take you to 80% in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And when it's below something like a quarter of a charge, that's when the fastest charging happens. And now what it does is it preps the battery when you're on your way to a supercharger version 3. The car knows it. And it preps the battery for the high-speed charge.
It's coming, bitch. Get ready.
Pretty much. But
we're
you're
stopping.
Right.
Open up.
But you're right, Foo. It's in people's heads. They don't want to. They don't even want to think about it. They're like, nope.
Well, I thought one of the most courageous things I ever saw was Keon buying a Leaf and commuting from Granite Bay up to Grass Valley in a Leaf.
He couldn't swing the money for the 3, huh?
I mean he. I don't know what his decision there. I mean the range on those is like 80 miles or something when they're new, and the batteries just start tanking.
Oh, and
they
got the worst electric fuel gauge I've ever seen. It's like you stick your foot in it once and it goes from full to half.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Whoop.
Well,
my Leaf is dead. Fuck.
It left him stranded a couple times.
I'm not surprised. And also the first one, it had real short range, and the battery was air cooled. So on a 100-degree day, it means you have no cooling. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So
you're cooling with hot air.
Yeah, you're not cooling.
Yeah, that's what Tesla's really done really well is the battery cooling stuff they have built in. You wouldn't think that an electric car is going to need any kind of cooling, but the way they do that, the liquid cooling on those batteries is pretty impressive.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
So have you seen an explosion of one of those? It looks like lasagna.
Really?
The cooling fins roll up and down along the circular battery like lasagna, and they flow the coolant through the wave, and it's got multiple radiators in it. And when you're in a supercharger V3, you can hear those things humming, keeping that battery cool. No, that kind of is the car to a large degree. Is that battery pack, not the cell? Anybody can make that,
right?
But assembling that cell into a battery where I've seen guys tear them down. They go, we can't even figure out how this works. It's serial here and parallel here and serial here and parallel there, and like you could probably lose a giant chunk of it and you wouldn't even know. These guys really knew how to carry the one when they put that thing together.
Well, and the improvements they made between the S and the 3. I mean, those were huge.
The 3 is a much faster charging car.
Yeah. The battery technology, they just the way they designed it's much better.
Pretty much everything. There's a guy called Sandy Monroe. His name's Sandy Monroe, and what he does is he tears down cars for a living, and he sells his reports to other automakers.
I think I've heard about that.
And he tore into this thing, and there was a bunch of stuff he didn't like about the first 3. He said the fit and finish is terrible, right? But he said everything else. He held up the control board of the Model 3. And he said, the last time I saw anything like this, it was on an F-35 Lightning. Okay, this is aerospace technology. This is not a car company.
In a car.
Yeah, he said, this is not car company. This is aerospace level engineering.
It rings a bell. I can't remember what I saw of his before, but that rings a bell.
The other thing he said is, he goes, I got to eat crow. He goes, because the car's profitable. He goes, I would have bet.
Yeah, he breaks down all the parts and what they cost and all that
everything,
stuff.
glue, tape,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
It motors. He pulled the motor apart and he said, never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
He goes, our guys are still trying to figure it. So
it's impressive.
The Elon Musk, very smart guy. Not a super likable guy all the time.
Yeah, he has his moments, right?
Yeah, not all the time. Well, but the thing look, he's a genius. There's no doubt about that. He's a rocket scientist, right? But what I don't like is the way if you're an investor, the way he threatens your money.
Yes.
Right? It's one thing for him to put his money on the line by being a wise guy and making smart mouth, being a smart ass. It's another thing to put my money in jeopardy, right? And hopefully with a guy like Larry Ellison on the board, he'll like, Elon, dude, yeah. Okay.
What are you doing?
Dude, tone it down. Okay, there's big money on it. So I don't like the way he puts my money on the line. But, he's landed rockets vertically.
I know.
God.
That was science fiction, dude. That was science fiction.
That is fun to watch.
That makes like all the news lately like even harder to swallow, especially about him and like just popping off and making stupid shit. It's like
with Kanye and shit. You're
but I love watching rockets land autonomously on a boat out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
That puts a smile on my face. And the two
the drone ships for
Bob and Doug.
Yeah.
Did you see how much work they had to do?
Yeah.
Like nothing. Dude, to pilot a Soyuz, that takes a Jedi master. Right?
There's some chops there.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. To pilot a Soyuz, you got to really walk and chew gum, man. But these guys are like pushing a button every 3 seconds.
They're like,
Dmitry, get out slide rule. 5 carry the 1. Fuck you. The throttle's too high. Fuck, pull lever. Yuri.
Pretty much.
And you're lucky the Americans made it to the goddamn space station.
Well, not only is he landing, he's reusing engines.
I know. Yeah. Well, that's how you make it profit. He knows that. That's how you make it profitable.
Boy, he really upset that market.
Well, if you have to rebuild engines every time, like with the space shuttle, it just costs way too fucking much money.
It costs a fortune between launches.
Have they done the nose cone yet?
Yeah.
They
just caught the most recent one, the fairing they caught.
Yeah.
That's funny, that guy in that boat. They've renamed that boat. I think every time they miss, they rename the boat. Right?
Oh, really?
Like, You got to come with the net. It's
coming. Something Steven.
Mr. Stevens, I think, or Mr. Stevens.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
And then there's yeah. But the other thing is that rocket, it can lose, the Falcon 9 can lose a core and still make orbit.
Wow.
So it's redundant that way, too.
Jeez.
No, this guy really,
so awesome.
this guy really did the math, man.
Yeah.
He really.
Well, I don't know the giant silver dildo that he announced.
The one that keeps blowing up.
Yeah.
That's the Mars rocket.
I know.
That's got to go through some shit for sure.
Well, absolutely, but it was kind of like, well, I mean, I guess it's cool. You know what I mean? Like
it's going to be shiny.
The biggest silver dildo I've ever seen.
Look, your mom just arrived.
My mom's squatting over the dildo. No, Mom, it's not a dildo.
That's not a. Oh, Mom, damn it.
So what? Remember the British? What was they called it? The Beagle. There was our probes that went to Mars, and then there was the British one. They missed
Beagle.
the planet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they completely.
Oh.
It either crashed into the planet or completely missed the planet.
Oh.
You got a room full of guys staring at screens, and
yes,
minutes go by, and you could see the.
Was that the one where they did the units wrong?
What do you mean?
The metric conversion?
Yeah, they did the units were converted, and so they were...
When did this happen?
This was a couple years... this was years ago.
Yeah,
okay, I missed this.
This was years
ago. This was
somewhere...
not too far after we put Spirit and Opportunity on.
Oh, okay.
It was right after that.
It was somewhere months after, and, it got to the, okay, we're missing a troll, and the parachute is now supposed to be dispensing, and... okay, well, we're going to cut back to and they,
there's been an anomaly.
Yeah,
they use that word, an anomaly.
Yeah.
They're not expecting.
We're going to have to check back in. We'll search, and it was the conversion units were wrong, so it popped shoot or drag too late, and so it essentially fucking bounce tested off the Mars surface.
Oops.
6,000 miles an hour.
Say or press oops.
I missed that.
Sorry, man.
I missed that one.
Somebody didn't carry the one.
Yeah.
Or use the conversion table.
Yeah. Multiply it by 5.
So there's a meme out there. It's pretty funny, right? Because we're a global company, right?
Yeah.
And everybody wails on us for the imperial system.
Yeah.
Right? Like you guys with Fahrenheit and imperial system, nobody can figure it out. And there's a meme. It's got a guy walking on the moon. It says there's two kinds of countries: those that use the metric system and those that have walked on the moon.
Oh,
it's a nice burn.
Yeah.
I send that to Maddie.
That's good.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Well, I mean, you think about it though. The the metric stuff is definitely getting into our garages. I mean, it's here. It's been here for a while, but you got to buy 2 sets of fucking tools to work on anything now.
But that was the big joke, right? When I was in 3rd grade, they're like, you got to learn it because it's coming. It's like with the killer bees,
Yeah.
right,
and the murder hornets
and the fire ants. It's coming.
Yeah.
It's still not
Absolutely.
here. But it's so easy compared to SAE and Imperial.
Yeah,
you 9/16. What the 5/8 versus 10, 12. It's super.
This cart, one of the wheels fell off and the spot welded nuts on the bottom for the wheel casters came off.
Yeah.
So I had to run over to Home Depot and buy a spare. And
Nice.
I've got it with me. Fucking 5/8 fits an M8 metric, and I went, well, there's no way this Chinese company sent me an Imperial it's metric. So
Close enough, bro.
yeah, I just got to M8 because I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Of course, this thing's going to be metric. So it's like, just flip it. It would be so much easier.
So how was the service in Home Depot?
Or it was Lowe's, but it was, it was fine.
Because, I had heard you guys talking last time about sales, right? And being sold. Because I hate being sold.
Oh.
yeah.
I hate being sold. Like, I could instantly tell when somebody's trying to handle me into something. I mean, I'm laser sensitive to it. But we were talking about sales, right?
Yeah.
I think that is one of the most awesome gigs anybody can ever do as a career.
So you don't like being sold, but you're happy to sell.
So,
I mean, the difference, is it a challenge? Is it the challenge of selling, or is it?
well, there's a lot
Or
of
is it just-
there's a lot of aspects to this, right?
Yeah.
So salespeople in a lot of ways are like cops. And I'll tell you what I mean by that.
Okay.
You walk into a place.
You got me hooked.
Yeah.
You walk
here we go.
Okay, you walk into a place.
Yeah.
And you get descended on by somebody, and he says, "Hey, can I help you?" Or "What are you looking for?" "Hey, man, I'm just looking."
Right.
Right.
That's my go-to.
Right. That's pretty much like if you've ever worked in retail, right? Which I have worked in a lot of sales. That's what happens in retail. No, dude, I'm just looking. Okay. But the minute you need help, where's the sales guy?
Right.
And why isn't the sales guy here right now?
Because
Waiting
you
on
just told him.
waiting on me hand and foot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Well, now I got to wait. Well, the service here sucks. Well,
Yeah.
you just told the guy you didn't want his
Right.
help.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a.
There's
Yeah.
a fine line.
Yeah.
Right. So, in some ways, most of them are just not really good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
when you need the help, do they know what they're doing? Right. Are they trying to sell you something you don't need? Or are they trying to figure out what
Right.
you need and get it to you?
Right.
No, then there's a bunch of variables to how sales works.
Sounds
right?
like police work.
Well, in terms of I don't want to comp around until I want him around.
Right.
And then he can't get to me quick
I
enough.
think
Right.
too. So I think
That makes sense.
As someone that knowing that. How do I put that? So being like socially anxious and like having personalities that are like, "Hi, can I help you?" It's oftentimes like almost discomforting to even just say,
I just.
and you walk away,
Yeah.
or I don't need anything. But
I'm sure, right? If you're
But-
socially anxious, I
Right.
bet
There
This
is
guy
a-
hovering over you.
right, there is a I think there is a difference between someone like you who's a salesman at some point or is who isn't necessarily so much you're selling a product, but there's a passion and an understanding of what it is that's driving your engagement with the person that's across from you, as opposed to someone that's like, Hi, hello. Thank you for can I interest you in home sales or a long distance plan? And so it's the ones that are reading off a thing or someone that's following a formula that's almost gamed against someone who's uncomfortable with the conversation or the position that they're in.
Who's just looking.
Sure.
And so the type
totally.
of person that makes a good salesman for the type of product that it is that they're selling, I don't see too far different. You being a salesman and being on the trade floor or whatnot is all that different from me staying in front of a group of nerd gamers at Ingress trying to convey how we're going to do this strategic gaming thing.
It's not very different at all.
You're selling
it's not.
It's not very different at all.
It's all
you're
about
an information broker.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, you're an information broker.
It's hard for me to square that circle because I have been in I don't sell anything, but I assure you I've been in a position of passionate information brokering that I could have sold something if that's what I was doing. But instead it was a conveyance of a passionate point or strategy. And what I'm selling is a process, not a product, but a process.
Sure.
And so it's always difficult for me, like post show when we were talking about, like it was weird to have Dave, and I was uncomfortable with the stuff and the things, but
I didn't get that at all. But
in other specific scenarios, I'm the president giving the speech,
Sure.
and I have no uncomfortability doing that. But in sales stuff, like walking down an aisle, and it's like I can fucking feel that dude breathing down my neck, and it gets weird for me.
Well, what's weird is I have only known you as that guy, as the guy who is the seller, or that has the information.
So it was weird for you to say, like, how was the sales? I'm like, fuck, I don't know.
Well, it's weird for me
I
to
don't
hear
really
you
pay
talk
attention to
about
that.
how you can't. You have this social thing when I have seen you not have that at all. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
well, I think you said it. You said he's the guy that gets to decide that, not you or I, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. I didn't catch any of that
Right.
from
That's what I'm saying. So
I can't explain it. It's very weird. Like I get nervous.
And not
random
only
phone calls, don't want any part of it.
Right.
People coming up to the door while I'm working.
I'm not
I
answering.
don't want any part
That's
of
a
it.
very low-level sales, right? Like
Yeah.
sales
But it's like-
is one of the widest ranges of capability and capacity of any career, right?
Mhm.
You've got the guy at Lowe's, which can be very professional,
Yeah.
but he's not selling company
Right.
to company,
right.
right? And you're not coming to him for a business solution. You're coming to him or he's coming to you for, a retail solution.
Right.
And then you've got, say, the guy at Gulfstream selling G650s,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a $45 million plane. You think that guy handles no one. There's a waiting list for the plane.
Yeah.
It's $50 million bucks,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You don't get one.
Yeah.
You can get on the list,
Yeah.
but you don't get one. And, what else is there to talk about?
Yeah.
Right? I can sell as many as the company makes.
Yeah.
I
So
think-
it's weird to say salesman,
Yeah.
but when I know full well that there could be that one instance where I run into the Home Depot. I mean, Home Depot or Lowe's. I've run into someone that's like, he's the young kid and he could have zero fucks. He's just hoping to make the next payment on his Honda Type R. And he doesn't know the difference between the penny in his pocket and a 16-penny nail or why there's penny references. But
bad salespeople are the worst.
Right. But there's probably that one guy who's my dad's age, who's trying to make ends meet, and he's taking the job so seriously that he's there to be the guy that, hey, I'm not trying to sell you. What are you looking for? Man, I don't know anything about putting in a deck, but I'm looking for some fasteners or something.
He's going to be your home.
Let me help you.
Yeah.
Home improvement.
This
Here-
kind of
hero.
screw, this kind of nail.
Here are
Yeah.
your options. Those are the engagements that I hope for, but more often than not, it's the ones that are like, dude, bro, I don't know. You could ask Tammy.
Check aisle 50.
Yeah.
So being a sales guy makes you really critical of salespeople. Like if you don't know your product, if I know more about your product than you do, this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a real problem. But I've watched Jim sell. He wouldn't say he was selling, but I've watched Jim work a trade show.
If you work a trade show, you are. I mean, you're selling.
You're selling.
You're not making a transaction on the floor, but you're selling your wares to somebody.
Right. And I've seen him
and
working with this stuff, and having been on the trade floor with him before. There is a passion and a comprehensive understanding of the products. I would presume that even if you were uncomfortable being on the trade floor in your booth, what helps get you past that uncomfortability is an understanding of how your product works and a confidence in it. So there are situations where you could be socially anxious, but
Jim's there
because you understand.
Let's go talk to Jim.
Yeah,
you bring the guy over.
Because you understand how your product works. It helps you like put on
Well, here's how I kind of viewed trade shows. I got thrown into trade shows right after I started working at Charismatic Engineering. We did our first show was like 2 months, I think, after I started working there at Macworld San Francisco. And it was huge. It was a big deal. It was like we had a booth and it was like nuts. And I was nervous as shit because I was fairly new to the company, but yet here I am standing on the trade show floor. It's sort of like a stand-up comedian has to go and just fail a bunch, right, in order to like improve himself over time. And that, for me, I always kind of looked at that first show, that first trade show for me.
Got the butterflies in your stomach?
You get them out, you work them out. You don't know what's going to get thrown at you. Then you sort of get the feel for it, and then you understand what's going to get thrown at you. And you also understand that there are people that know more about some of this shit than you do.
Yeah, the very first guy you talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time.
Yeah.
Without fail.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to learn from that. And
Sure.
that's kind of how I look at that stuff. And that first show just hooked me for working for trade. I love working at trade shows. It's weird. Most people hate it. Most people don't want to do it. Oh, I've done it for 20 years. I don't want to go to that show again. And for me, I went to just enough trade shows every year that it was fun. The next one was fun. You know what I mean?
Sure, they can be fun.
Yeah.
They can be brutal, right? And
absolutely.
everywhere in between. I enjoy them. I enjoy the meeting all my friends in the industry all over the world.
Yeah,
and getting to hang with people I work with. Like I spent more time at a trade show with you than I have ever out of a trade show.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So
Yeah.
I remember my first NAB. Was I think nobody can remember because the Grateful Dead were in town. I think it was 89 or 90.
I've been to your party. It could have been the parties.
Well, this is even before that.
It was even before that.
Yeah.
It was before AJ was a company.
Yeah.
And I went through the show and I thought, this is cool. And man, this industry and this is good. I went to a couple colleges and I always studied television production since I was in high school. So I finally found my calling in this industry, right?
Right.
And I was just so stoked. And on the last day I was walking out, and as I pushed the door open, I looked down and I saw my business card face up with a footprint on it on the ground.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, man, that's not a great way to end
Take
the
your
show.
good show and turn it into a pile of shit.
Not tonight, Sampson. Not going to happen. Fuck
Wow.
you.
Wow, that's brutal.
But they're, if you do them, they're a lot of fun. And kind of like giving a presentation or selling, I'm crazy prepared whenever I present, but I'm nervous before every presentation, even if I've already given it.
Yeah.
But have you ever raced anything in a sanctioned event before?
Like autocross, but nothing that was, prize pool or money.
So how nervous were you before that race started?
Probably not terribly, because it was like a car thing. So I have comfortable in the car. I knew what I had to do, and I had run the route.
Gotcha. So where I was going with this is, like, I raced motocross as a kid, and before every race, I would be so nervous I would almost vomit. I mean, but as soon as there was a saying, when the green flag drops, the bullshit stops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with an engagement with a presentation or a sales event or giving a big presentation to try to close a multi-million-dollar deal. But back to sales, that it's a little bit like the ocean. It's one of the few careers left where it's unlimited. And it doesn't matter where you went to school,
right?
What color you are, what creed you are. None of that matters.
Yep.
The only thing you have to be is good at it. Nothing else matters. You can make unlimited money.
You figure out your audience, and you basically pander to that audience.
Or you work your way up. I started in retail, right? Selling. Retail's cool because you can pit products against one another. Yeah, I like the Ryobi or I like the Makita. You get a couple of them there.
Yeah.
Well, when you only work for Makita, guess which one you like, right? You got to sell that one, right? So retail's fun in that way. But as you get, as you go up the chain and you get a job as a manufacturer's rep, you now have to sell your product,
right,
and your services, and it gets harder. And then you have quotas, and the quota goes up every year, and it gets harder every year to do the same thing. And sometimes you get new products, sometimes you don't. And selling itself sometimes isn't the hard thing. The hard thing is selling quarter-on-quarter, year-on-year growth consistently. And that is very hard to do.
That's the nerve-wracking shit.
That is very hard to do when you work at a public company, is consistent quarter-on-quarter, year-on-year growth. But like deep-sea fishing, the size of the catch for your income, unlimited.
Yeah.
You can go from Radio Shack to Boeing selling jets if you're good enough.
If you're good enough.
If you're good enough. And there's no schooling. Yeah, you can take classes that teach you the art, but it's unlimited.
Yeah.
One of the few things in the world left like that.
Some people are just naturally skilled at it too.
True. There are, and that's another thing about sales. There are some people that are born salespeople, and other salespeople are made. And there are people that are a combination of both that never started or had it and then learned it and learned that trade and went and did it.
So let me ask you this. Speaking of you were a sales guy for AJA originally, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I started in the OEM division.
Yeah.
Right. And then became the VP of Worldwide Sales.
Yeah. So as VP, I know that's essentially sales, but you weren't directly selling, or were you part of bigger sales things that necessarily weren't brought in by an individual? I mean, I assume that means you were working with larger sales projects rather than the individual.
Were you managing a team doing more sales, or were you still selling?
I was still selling, and I still sell today.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's product that's bought, and AJA has both of these things. They have product that's bought, like sugar and butter and milk. That isn't really sold. That's bought. Mm-hmm. And then there are larger systems and larger groups of stuff, like 50 frame synchronizers for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that better work.
Right.
Right. And, or 100 of them.
Yeah. Which has actually happened.
And now you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in one sale. Yeah, I'm involved in all. Not all of them, but, we got a super strong team, but oftentimes it gets tricky. Right?
Yeah, you'd have to have your hand in there probably at some point.
Well, it's always helpful to work a big deal with a group, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do we go at this particular problem, or how do we handle that? And we've got engineers and salespeople. The other thing about sales is it can lead to anything else. So one of the unique things about being a sales guy and selling high-end things is you sit in the room with everybody in a company. You sit in the room with the engineers, and you help them figure out how it's going to install. Mm-hmm. You sit with the people that are going to run it. You sit with the finance guy that says, hey, how do I justify spending $700,000 for this?
Right.
Right. You sit with the president. You go to dinner with the guy. So you interact from the blue-collar guy that's going to wire it up to the guy that writes the check for it.
Yeah.
And you have that familiarity with everybody in that loop. If you're in higher end sales.
I never even considered that. I just figured you have the right contact. Everything's based on the merit of the product that you're trying to sell. You know what I mean? I never really considered there was a lot of other avenues in there.
Yeah. So
I'm a QA engineer, so like, what do I know about sales really? As far as those processes are concerned, I mean, I can tell you about the thing and sell you on the thing,
Sure,
but the
and you
transaction-based thing is where I'm
but you would be
stepping
brought
off.
in as part of that deal, but you would only be brought in as a part, where the sales guy would bring his whole team, and you would be one member of that team.
Yeah, I think that's the difference, like a comprehensive, passionate tradecraft salesman versus like hi, I'd like to sell you a long-distance plan for AT&T Wireless. You're like, get the fuck out of my face.
Right.
Click.
Yeah, click.
Yeah, click.
Huh, that's interesting stuff.
But yeah, so to your, you gotta be able to talk to and have credibility with a blue collar guy from everybody from the wiring guy to the president of the company, and you got to be able to talk and converse with all of them.
Yeah.
And if you can't, if you're not good at that, you're gonna have a problem.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, that's
We're close.
Really?
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's an hour.
You're kidding me.
No.
Again?
This is how it works.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about any of the paranormal stuff I wanted to talk about.
We didn't get to any of that stuff.
No.
I guess that means you have to come back in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Do I have to chip in for gas money?
I had a whole thing planned about that.
Well, it's funny because I kept thinking at some point he's going to want to talk about this, and then we never got there.
We didn't get there.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Hey, I mean, we'll have Dave back. We're happy to have you here because
I got notes and everything, man.
Where?
It's in the computer.
Oh, okay. Well, it's in your bag still.
But I got a lot of it right here.
Okay.
You got one that's like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, so
Let's do it.
look, there's a range of paranormal stuff, right?
'Kay,
And
hit
one of
me.
the ones I've run into up here, okay,
'Kay.
it's real controversial.
Chemtrails?
Dowsing.
Dowsing.
Oh, water.
Oh,
Yes.
water. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, dowsing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you hire a dowser to find your water on your property. Mm-hmm. And is this a thing that works?
It did for us.
Okay, but water is underground in a table. It doesn't run in a little river. Okay. So
Yeah.
if the sticks move over here, and you go any direction, there's water.
So to me, I'm not entirely sold on it. That's the thing. So, but we had it done. We have 10 acres up off McCourtney.
So all the well guys here do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
To the guys that came before we had the giant semi tractor trailer fucker come out with the well thing, we had a water dowser come out and tell us where with the two fucking things like cross. He came up and he did 2 sites for the well. The first one was Bupkis. The second one was the one that was the good to go. As a kid and seeing it and having it explained, I kind of just wow.
So wait a second.
He was
magic.
Yeah,
you had a 50% success rate.
50% success rate. But it was at the time. It was like I wasn't concerned with the 50%. It was the second one where the things crossed was exactly where it was. Now,
I mean, that could have been in a 50-yard.
It's in a table,
right? The old me would have. The old me now knows. In hindsight, like when I look at the geography of my dad's property, if I were to look at how the landscape flows and where on the way up into the driveway where there are a couple of springs or seasonal springs, someone like a mentalist type who would have been hyper aware of the geography and probably any watershed movements or erosion would have been able to probably like, I'll cross it here because this is probably where the water table is. Yeah. Or an aquifer of some sort. And yeah, he fucking coin flipped and he got the second one right. But I'm not.
Did you ever hear of a guy named James Randi? He was a magician. He called himself the Amazing Randy.
No.
And he was when I was a kid, I was into magic because it was cool, and astronomy and aviation and computers. So I would get magic sets for Christmas, and it always amazed me how easily I could fool people. So he was a magician that turned into a paranormal debunker.
Okay.
And he did a test. He took like a football field size area, had a bunch of dowsers come in, he ran a bunch of pipes underneath the ground.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good one. Here we go. Yeah.
No one was even remotely close. right? And this guy used to carry a check with him for 10 grand, turned into $100 grand, that said, hey, if you can prove you can do anything paranormal under controlled conditions.
Yeah.
And he was kind of my hero in a way because he was both a magician and a debunker.
Yeah.
So I'm very skeptical sounds lazy, but I think skeptically, but I'm open to.
Yeah, you're like a scientific agnostic. No, that's reverse.
Something like that.
Well,
yeah.
when you break down magic, it's just sleight of hand. So it's like all that stuff's controlled already.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That said, I've been fooled. And blown away, actually. And that's not easy to do because I'm into magic. And I was a member of the Magic Castle in Hollywood, which is a well-known place where they go practice. So I bring that mindset of James Randi and Flim Flam to things paranormal.
Okay.
Like just
let
me see it under approved conditions.
Right.
Yeah. And so one of the things that was happening when James ran that test is the truck ran out of water, and nobody said a thing. And he waited for 10 minutes to go by, and he went, I'm running out of water, and then all of a sudden everybody went, yeah, I could tell. It's never been proven that it works under controlled conditions.
Right.
So what were the dowsers saying when confronted with, you're not hitting it? Like, is there a common escape hatch? Like, there's earth interference, and that's why I couldn't get anything. Like, what are they saying is the reason why they didn't find it?
They all undertook the test, right? They all decided to take it because they wanted to win the prize.
Right.
And nobody came up with a good excuse.
Okay.
Do you remember?
I think it was 5G.
It had to be, right?
Bill Gates and his 5Gs.
Yeah, I think,
with the vaccines. And
yeah.
I think that's the reason why they didn't find
Had to be.
It was interference from future 5G.
From the future, right?
The polio vaccine.
Right, the future is the future, and the future's computers and San Dimas High School football rules.
Oh, absolutely.
Stole my water aquifer.
Every time I drive through San Dimas, I say that. Every time.
This is the San Dimas
High School football rules! Every time.
That guy started a post house.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. You know, they chopped a lot out of that movie.
They did?
With him. Because they had him interacting with those guys and kind of fighting throughout the movie, and most of that got chopped out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his name's Will. Company.
I wonder if he's in the new one.
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't think I've
Probably
seen
not.
Where do you ditch Napoleon? Waterloo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
No, I had a whole bunch of paranormal ones, right?
Yeah.
Then stuff like, I don't believe in ghosts.
Yeah.
I just don't, right?
Yeah.
You know?
But
I mean, that's okay.
But
I'm not going
I've
to...
seen things move
Yeah.
with people. Like, what just happened?
So you have another verifiable source that has seen the same thing that you saw. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's weird shit.
And there was no wind, there was no 5G.
Yeah, there's no 5G.
Now, my wife is convinced there's ghosts like all the time.
So let me ask this question.
Like a picture, and it's got like a piece of dust that's lit up by the flash, and she'll be like, there's an orb. It's a ghost
An orb.
in the picture.
It's not a lens flare, right? It's a lens flare.
It's a piece of dust that got caught in the flash. She's like, it's an orb.
So who gets to decide which dead people become ghosts?
The dead people,
They get to decide themselves?
I guess, whether they're unhappy with
And
this.
they pick their wardrobe, too, because they always got...
Yeah.
Well, of course.
I'm sorry.
You died.
It's never the last thing they wore.
I'm sorry. It's just enough. I go to
No,
ghost wardrobe in the morning, and
It's a weird shit.
That's
That's the weird shit about like ghosts. I believe there's energy, but I don't know how that works.
I go as far to think that there is likely to be alternate dimensions.
Well,
Because mathematicians will
Could
tell
be.
you that. And so maybe there's areas and times where we cross over with that, maybe. And that's perceived. Maybe that's how the keys fell off the counter from the middle of the counter.
yeah.
That's as far as I go.
It's hard.
But my dead
you know?
grandpa, no. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, that stuff's weird.
No.
There's enough unknown science loopholes that I can't explain that I don't think people have explanations for yet. That it's like, I'm open to math.
Yeah, I'm
figuring something out where there's, micro gravitational somethings or, alternate space-time fucking who knows?
Well, I mean, there's like shows like Ghost Hunters, right?
No.
And like they go to all
Did you ever
these
see a
places.
ghost on one of those shows?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
They've been to all, even in Grass Valley, they've been to the
Holbrook Hotel.
Yeah, the Holbrook. And they go to all these places that are supposed to be haunted, and they've never seen anything.
It's ridiculous.
They've never seen anything.
It's bullshit.
So it's like, I just, they have all these things. They walk around, the squawk box that makes a bunch of noise.
And the temperature sensing. I felt a wind.
Oh, it's cool right
somebody
here.
opened the window.
Yeah.
But you know what did just happen? And I know we're running low on time. The Pentagon finally admitted that they call them UAPs now, that the Nimitz encounter off San Diego happened. And this is a big thing, okay? Because there was nothing to talk about. Nothing going on.
They call them UAPs? What is
Unidentified aerial phenomena.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
So the Pentagon, our
so
government...
we've gone from UFO to UAP.
Well, so think about this, though. We just announced a Space Force.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do you think that just is now being formed?
You got me on that one.
So why did these two things happen pretty close to one another, you think? The Pentagon finally admitted we don't know. These were real. They admitted they're real.
Yeah.
And they admitted we don't know what they were, and they let the fighter pilot go on TV and talk about it. They let them do that.
See, I have trouble with anything that comes out of the government when they talk about this stuff and they admit things. Either they really don't know, or they're just not talking about the things that they actually do.
Yeah. What makes that one hard for me is that the footage is awkward.
Yeah,
it's
weird.
It's a little different.
But that we would get 100% full disclosure of everything and anything that had to do with that event, including evaluations of all military branches on what they thought and whoever they kicked that to like, is this real?
Well, we didn't get that.
Right.
We didn't get that.
So that's what makes it like a hard.
You get part of it.
But just before there was nothing to talk about. There's nothing going on. We're not looking into it. We're not talking about it. There's nothing there.
And then here's something.
What do you know?
Yeah, here's something.
What do you know?
We don't know.
Now we have a Space Force.
Do you guys remember the hacker? You might remember because you guys are this kind of... Do you remember the British hacker named Gary McKinnon?
No.
He hacked into the NSA database, and we were trying to get him extradited from Britain. Oh. And this guy, we really laid the pressure on this guy. So he said... I found folders that talked about non-terrestrial officers and fleet deployment non-terrestrial. Gary McKinnon.
We got to look that up.
Okay.
Make a note.
So where I'm going, where I think this is going is, okay, the Space Force has been around for a while. Right? So why are we spending this money? Well, obviously, if there's a threat now, or we show people
perceive
there could be a threat.
Yeah.
Now we can admit this other thing is happening, or we can go spend money on it.
Maybe it's Kim Jong-un.
That would be one of the craziest secrets to still have kept secret, especially with the current administration, how they could still keep that lip zipped.
Yeah.
But that's what makes that part hard. It's like, okay, you get me all the way, and then I have to face the reality that we have some of the stupidest people that have ever been at the highest rungs of the administration, and who are now saying, fuck, we need a Space Force because shit.
Well, I just think that
but don't tell anybody. Oh, God.
I kind of feel like the Space Force is like, it was the next thing that had... I mean, it was the only thing we don't have a thing for is space. So it was like...
Thing is, it's been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
It has?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Space Force?
Yeah,
I think he's just putting...
They talked about it in Congress years ago.
Yeah, they're putting brackets around it so that he can have like a...
Yeah.
I have a thing.
This has been a thing for a while.
Huh. Well,
just leveraging some of the other branches.
I guess I have to read up on some of this stuff because I don't know.
And there's other stuff that I've seen with people, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff I've seen by myself. So the evidence is like there's mountains of it from airline pilots and radar operators and
Yeah.
Sure, there's the drunk guy that's going to get butt diddled in the field. Sure, there's always Cletus.
Yeah.
Right, there's that. And you put
How do I get that job?
But when you've got like the Nimitz
Hashtag hi, Will.
when the guy with the Aegis radar, Aegis radar is not going to lock onto Venus, okay? This is the best thing we've got. When the Spy 1 radar picks up something coming from like 100,000 feet to sea level in under 2 seconds, the radar can't even catch it. It looks like a streak.
Right.
Okay, that didn't come from Japan. Okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't an optical illusion. And the pilots, so the radar saw it and the pilot saw it. He put eyes on it for over 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it displayed non-Newtonian acceleration, like 20,000 cubic miles of sky in under a second, right? So
That's just mind-boggling.
they've admitted this.
That stuff
This has
will
now
always bake
been
my brain.
admitted. So I think what we're going to see is a slow drip going forward. Are they going to really tell us what's going on? No way. But you got guys like Robert Bigelow.
Well, there's a lot of questions in past presidencies over how much stuff has happened and how much they actually know and what kind of things have.
President doesn't need to know. He's a short timer.
Yeah.
As in he does not need to know.
Well, that's true, but that there's knowledge that's imparted in the president's office.
Yeah, and it's national security level stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they don't talk about it, because do we have a crashed one? Are there multiple crashed ones? If we figure it out before the other guy, it's an amazing weapons platform. If they figure it out before us, it's a defense problem. If you come out and say we're not alone, then now we're Earthlings and no one gives their allegiance to a country.
Well, and then
it's a
you
complex problem.
You kind of
Yeah.
wonder,
It's a
like,
complex problem.
what other things that other countries know.
Well, and you listen to the guys that theoretically try to. So theoretically, we've come some ways in reverse engineering one, and there's a super secret vehicle called the TR-3B.
Write it down.
Okay, it's
TR-3B?
called the TR-3B,
Okay.
and apparently it can negate the G-forces by about 80 or 90%. So it can both fly out of the atmosphere and in the atmosphere, and it can negate. There's two kinds of UFOs: the kinds that they make and the kind we make. Ours aren't as good as theirs, but we have them. And that's the classic black triangle people see as a TR-3B, theoretically.
Interesting.
Right? So
Now I've got research to do.
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah.
Check it out, dude.
TR-3B.
And we're going to get even deeper.
Wait, yeah.
Deeper
All
and
right.
deeper.
Well, you're going to have to come back now.
we were going to
We'll
talk,
talk
about
about tier 3Bs.
Yeah.
check it out, guys.
I'm going to do some research on that. I may
Or
not
maybe
get,
I
may
shouldn't
not get
say
any work.
anything.
I may not get any work done tomorrow. Just
Yeah.
let Keon know, okay?
Yeah. Hey, Keon, I gave Jim a side project.
Yeah, I got a real important thing for Jim.
He's got a couple tests he needs to put off till next week. He's got the TR3B protocol. Anyway,
Jim,
That's all you're going to know about it.
yeah, that's all I can tell
That's
you.
all I can tell you. This is,
awesome.
yeah.
Thanks,
All right.
guys. I had it so
Hey,
much fun.
Thanks for coming, Dave.
Thanks
we'll
for
we'll have
coming.
you back
Dudes.
for sure. I mean, well, if you'll come back,
Yeah.
you know.
If you'll have me,
We'll do
man.
like a...
I don't have any other friends.
Oh, shit.
Shit.
Don't tell us that.
You got a boat?
yeah.
Have you put the boat in the water?
You put the
Maybe.
boat in the water, you're going to
Maybe.
have all kinds of friends with boobs, I think.
And then what would you guys, or are you those guys?
Well, I would be one of them for sure.
I have no comment. But if there are poops there, maybe I'll show up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. We went a little over tonight.
Sorry.
Whatever.
That's Dave's fault.
Yeah. Fucking Dave.
All right. Well, have a good week, everybody. If you got any things about paranormal activity,
If you know
or
anything
ghosts
about
or
TR3Bs,
TR3Bs,
comments.
Sad Dads Club podcast at gmail.com.
And the next time Dave's here, we'll do all
Paranormal
Paranormal
stuff. Yeah,
alien
we'll
shit.
Plan on that.
Yeah.
Big
From the
Q&A.
start, yeah.
And
Big
just-
Q&A
we'll
from
just
the
start
from the
doing
readers
I don't
writing
know.
in.
I don't know a lot about it.
We'll do like alien fucking roundtable. Let's do it that way. Like alien tech, paranormal tech.
What we
round-
need is an alien we can have on the show. That would be awesome.
I have a lot.
I can get a lot of shit done,
yeah,
Jim.
I have
but
a lot of cosplay shit. I probably can get like a gray man
Hey,
helmet.
you're a sales guy. Can you pitch
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Close that deal,
Yeah.
Samson.
Yeah, come on, man.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Alrighty, we'll catch you next week.
See you later.
Later.
here.
I swear I saw a tree chasing a dog on the way in here, man. It is hot here, dude. It's hot, man.
A tree chasing a dog.
looking for moisture.
Does the tree make sound, or is it just the rustling of the leaves on the branches?
Like a Lord of the Rings thing, right? Come back.
Yeah.
Come back.
Yeah, that would be totally Lord of the Rings if the tree's chasing a dog. Yeah.